Imagine a quiet suburban street in Lake Barrington, disrupted by flashing lights and sirens on a cold February morning. In the small, tight-knit community, such an uproar was a rare sight. Neighbors peeked through their curtains as firefighters rushed towards a smoke-filled garage where a fire had just been extinguished. Inside, amidst the charred remains of what appeared to be a typical domestic scene, lay something far more grim: a burned body. Initially, it seemed like a tragic accident. A man, presumably the homeowner, caught in a fatal blaze. The community was abuzz with sympathy and whispers of misfortune as the news spread like the fire itself. This was a place where people felt secure, where children played freely in the streets, and such tragedies were distant tales. However, as the investigators sifted through the debris, their findings hinted at inconsistencies. What was first thought to be a straightforward case of accidental death was slowly beginning to morph into something more deliberate. But as the ashes settled, a far more sinister plot began to emerge. Meet Arie Squire, a local business owner with a life that was crumbling under financial and legal pressures. Arie, at 39 years old, was the owner of a once thriving construction company. However, the tides of fortune were turning rapidly against him. As he faced the daunting reality of bankruptcy, his financial woes were compounded by serious allegations of Medicare fraud. The walls, it seemed, were closing in from all sides. In the face of these overwhelming challenges, Arie's mind turned to darker solutions. Desperation led him to devise an escape from the suffocating grip of his current existence. It was a plan born of a man at his wits' end, a strategy so drastic that it defied moral comprehension. The seed of this desperate plan was planted when Arie met 20-year-old Justin Newman. Justin, an unsuspecting young man, was about to become the centerpiece of Arie's elaborate and sinister scheme. Arie's plot revolved around a chilling premise: to fake his own death and assume a new identity, thereby escaping his creditors and legal troubles. The plan was to stage his death in such a manner that it would leave no room for doubt, ensuring that his escape from his old life would be complete and unchallenged. To set this macabre plan into motion, Arie needed to create a scenario that was both tragic and believable. He chose his own garage as the stage for this grim act, planning to make it appear as a fatal accident that would end with his supposed death. The details were meticulously crafted, each element designed to support the illusion of a tragedy, while secretly setting the stage for his new life. Cornered by his own deeds, Arie concocted a plan that was as desperate as it was macabre. His thoughts, now darkened by fear and urgency, were focused solely on execution of this plan, oblivious to the moral and personal costs of such a decision. Enter Justin Newman, a young man whose only mistake was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Justin was known among his friends and family as a hardworking, optimistic individual, always ready to lend a helping hand. At the age of 20, he was juggling multiple part-time jobs, one of which led him to a fateful encounter at a local Home Depot. It was there, amidst aisles of lumber and paint, that Justin met Arie Squire. Arie, a man with a troubled past and dark intentions, saw in Justin not a friend but a means to an end. Their conversation began casually, talk of construction projects and work opportunities. Justin, ever the helpful soul, was keen to make new connections that could lead to steady employment. He had no way of knowing that Arie was desperately seeking someone who could serve as his double in a nefarious plot. Arie took advantage of Justin's trusting nature, gradually winning his confidence. He suggested they work on a project together, a proposition that seemed harmless and promising to an eager young man looking to advance his career. Little did Justin know, this project was designed to be his last. As they swapped work clothes for what Justin believed was a routine part of the job, he stepped unknowingly into a trap that would cost him his life. Justin, unaware of the grim role he was being drawn into, became an unwitting pawn in Arie's deadly game. What happened in Arie's garage was not just a fire. It was a staged catastrophe. The plan was sinister yet meticulously crafted. It all began with Arie Squire, a man cornered by his own misdeeds, who stumbled upon a desperate exit strategy that involved the young and unsuspecting Justin Newman. The scheme took shape on a seemingly ordinary day, when Arie, under the guise of seeking assistance, approached Justin at a local Home Depot. Their conversation, friendly and innocuous, led to an offer of work at Arie's home. But the job was a ruse, a ploy to set the stage for a grim tableau. Once at the garage, Arie's plan escalated quickly. He drugged Justin, whose trust and need for employment made him an easy target. As the drugs took effect, rendering Justin unconscious, Arie began the ghastly process of swapping their clothes. This act was not just a theft of attire, but a precursor to stealing Justin's very identity. With the scene set, Arie then initiated the final act of his dreadful script. He set the garage ablaze, ensuring the fire would be fierce enough to destroy all immediate evidence and, most crucially, to burn the body beyond easy recognition. The flames roared, fed by the accelerants Arie had meticulously placed, creating a fiery inferno that was meant to represent his own death. Initially, the plan seemed to succeed. The body, charred and unrecognizable, was presumed to be Arie's. Confusion reigned as news spread of the tragic accident. This confusion was exactly what Arie had banked on. It bought him time to vanish, to slip into the identity he had so callously stripped from Justin. But as the investigation unfolded, the truth began to seep through the cracks of the charred remains. The body was eventually identified not as Arie Squire, but as that of Justin Newman. As the fire consumed the garage, Arie's twisted plot took a fiery form, intending to leave his old life in ashes. But the truth has a way of rising from the ashes. In the smoldering remnants of what was once Arie Squire's garage, investigators initially believed they were dealing with a tragic accident. The body, charred beyond recognition, was thought to be Arie's. However, something didn't quite add up. The meticulous examination of dental records revealed the first twist in the case. The remains were not Arie's, but those of young Justin Newman. Further probing into the case unearthed a trail of deceit. Surveillance footage from a local Home Depot captured Arie and Justin shopping together, mere hours before the fire. This footage was crucial. It showed the pair in what seemed like casual conversation, but with hindsight, it was the final act of luring Justin into a deadly trap. As investigators pieced together Arie's movements post-fire, they discovered he had assumed Justin's identity. Credit card transactions, mobile phone records, and even sightings confirmed Arie was living a fugitive life under Justin's name. This facade extended to renting a small apartment in Missouri, where he avoided making any personal connections that might reveal his true identity. But living a lie is a complicated endeavor. Arie's desperation to evade capture led to sloppy mistakes, using his real name for minor purchases, a habit that eventually tipped off authorities. His final act, a suicide in a Missouri motel room, was a grim conclusion to his failed escape. With each piece of evidence, the facade that Arie had constructed began to crumble spectacularly. Arie Squire's story ends not with freedom, but with fatal regret. In his final days, Arie, now masquerading as Justin Newman, was a man on the run, not just from the law, but from his own conscience. As the walls of reality closed in, he found himself in a nondescript Missouri motel room, far from the life he once knew in Chicago. Here, overwhelmed by the magnitude of his deceit and its repercussions, Arie chose a permanent escape from his spiraling predicament. The suicide sent shockwaves through the communities involved. Legal battles ensued as Justin's grieving family sought justice for their son, whose life was so cruelly stolen. They filed lawsuits against Arie's estate and his accomplice, Arie Squire, alleging her complicity in the fraudulent scheme. For Justin's family, the loss was immeasurable. The young man's future, full of potential, was irrevocably erased, leaving behind a void filled with sorrow and questions that would never be answered. In a lonely motel room, Arie's escape plan culminated not in renewal, but in tragic self-destruction. Today, the shadows of Arie Squire and Justin Newman linger as stark reminders of human frailty and folly. In the quiet town of Lake Barrington, a community once marked by tranquility now bears the scars of a harrowing event that unfolded in February 2008. This case, chilling and complex, brings to the forefront the destructive capabilities of deceit. Arie Squire, driven by desperation and greed, orchestrated a plot so sinister that it not only claimed his life, but also that of young Justin Newman, an innocent whose only mistake was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The ripple effects of this tragedy extended beyond the immediate horror, impacting families and shaking the community to its core. The psychological ramifications are profound. Arie's actions highlight a dark aspect of human nature, the capacity for individuals to manipulate and betray for personal gain. It's a stark reminder of how deep the roots of deception can run when driven by despair. In the pursuit of a new beginning, one man's devastating choices extinguished two lives, leaving us to ponder the profound depths of despair and deception.